Hello and welcome to the Hive Live post-match podcast after a somewhat deflating 1-1 draw against local rivals Wealdstone. It's exactly the same result as it was last time that these two played at the Hive, with a slightly similar outcome as well, a late sucker punch that sort of took the wind out of Barnet sails. Not as late as the last one when Josh Keeley did his famous star jump, but alas, a late one around the 80th minute, and it was the Bees just could not find a winning goal. Let's try and unpack that, what it means for the rest of the table and why the Bees didn't manage to win the game. You're listening to myself, Rory Edwards, alongside Brian Matovu is with me to dissect the game. It was one of those where it started okay enough, didn't it? It was solid. The Bees were creating a few openings, but they just lacked that quality in the final third, didn't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, I thought it was a decent start from the Bees. Like I said, they were getting a lot of overloads on the right hand. So I thought Ryan Glover in the opening stages, opening moments of the game, he was really getting forward, getting some good crosses into the box. Unfortunately, no one could really get any touches onto it, and Wealdstone cleared, but they just, like you said, they couldn't get any clear-cut opportunities. Only one opportunity we could really see which fell to Glover, but unfortunately slipped. But other than that, Barnet were finding it hard to create clear opportunities that they usually create in these type of games. Of course, we know Wealdstone are a tough side. It's a derby game, it's a rivalry match. It's always going to be a bit hectic, a bit of nippy. But I thought the start wasn't as sharp as what we know the Bees to be. Do you know what I mean? Barnet normally play quicker, more incisive passes, but he just couldn't get that going at the beginning.
Now, of course, that came off the back of a loss against Braintree Town, and that ended a 25-game unbeaten run. The last loss came against York City away before that, and that was in October. So, it sort of knocked the wind out of Barnet's sails a little bit, that loss up at Braintree. Kinde scoring in the last minute, of course. But many were optimistic that it was just a minor blip, that Braintree was a difficult place to go. York came undone there, Forest Green came undone there, so losing away at Braintree isn't the end of the world, but it's how you follow that up. And unfortunately, the Bees have not been able to follow that up by getting back on the horse and winning. They have actually drawn the game against a Wealdstone side who in the first half we didn't think really had much going for them in attack.
Not at all. Literally, the only chance Wealdstone really had was in transition. Whenever the Bees would give the ball away, Haas would give the ball away a couple of times. It was in transition that Wealdstone had their best opportunities, but every single time the final pass was just so poor, which kind of summed up why Wealdstone were so far down the table, because they just can't generate enough offense or enough attack for them to create opportunities. And like I said, the final pass was poor. They had a striker, Alex Reed, who had 3 goals in his last 2 games, someone that's been banging form, but they just struggled to get him into the game, and every time they got the ball it was just really, really poor. So you would have thought that given that Barnet have quality in the final third, you got your Brown, you got your Steadies, you got your Loves, you would have thought that would be more than enough to get enough goals to win this game. But unfortunately, Barnet couldn't generate the offense or the pass or the quality that we normally assume them to have.
But they eventually did deliver a moment of true quality, and it came from an Anthony Hartigan special over on the far side, which we've seen him do several times now this season. He's just lethal from that position over on the far side, whipping one in with his right foot. And we still can't really tell on the replay that we've seen whether it was going in or not already. But Adi Aluwo got the all-important header, a bullet header into I think it hit the post actually, and went in, or the underside of the bar. And it gave the Bees a lead, which on balance they probably deserved.
Yeah, I'd say they deserved it. I think they're the ones trying to go for the opening goal, the ones pushing in the ascendancy. And like you said, Anthony Hartigan, we were literally saying before the free kick was even taken, it's the perfect angle for Anthony Hartigan on that left hand channel where he's going to whip it in swing, and it's always going to be a top quality delivery that will cause any keeper in the world problems. And that's what he did, putting a great ball in. To be fair to Baptiste, he flapped at it. It was a really, really poor keeper from him. And then Adi Luo, to be fair, he kind of just glances it in. The pace is already on the ball, so he just has to get a little touch on it, and hits on the underside of the bar, goes in for 1-0, and it was a good lead, to be fair, for the Bees. I mean, like you said, he couldn't really generate anything from open play, so the best opportunity was from a set piece. And with Hartigan's quality, and obviously Ben Koga's got quality as well, you would have thought that they were going to convert it. And Adi Lure, like you said, the big man for the big game, and he turns up again and he puts the ball in the back of the net.
Well, yeah, it was his 4th goal of the season, and of course he got some big ones. He scored against York and whatnot. And the Bees did score again. They did just before half time. It was Stead who scored from a similar free kick.
Yeah.
He whips it in, does Hartigan, but we've seen now on the replay, we didn't see it at the time, but Love has actually pushed his man ahead of Aluwo, because it was all very tight in that area, and Aluwo got the header back into the middle, instead finished off the header pretty well, right on the 6-yard box. but the referee called it early doors, blew up for the foul, and penalised Liam Love, and the Barnet players weren't really protesting, so you can't really use that one as an excuse.
Yeah, to be fair, we've seen it on the replay again. It's good ball from Hartigan, and Liam Love thinks he's going to get the ball, so he just pushes his defender to get a yard on him, and he falls to the floor. He misses the ball, and it goes to, like I said, Adi Lua, heads it back across, and instead he puts it away, but the ref did blow as soon as Adi Lua headed the ball. He blew up for the foul from Liam Love, and it was a foul. We look back on it, he does push him with two hands, so it is a foul. So we can't say that it was a wrongly goal chalked off, and to be fair, it was finally disallowed.
Yeah, indeed. So it went into half-time, 1-0, and while it wasn't exactly a classic performance or vintage bees at Fortress Hive, there weren't really many signs of danger, and we did feel it was difficult to call at half-time, but we did say, I think I might have said on comms, that while it's still 1-0, Wealdstone will still believe that they can get back into this game. And in the second half, I have to say, I think Wealdstone edged it performance-wise.
Yeah, I mean, they played really well. I mean, they won the proverbial second half, as we like to say, and they played well. I mean, like I said, the opportunity, Cisse, he had a massive opportunity. Just a ball just goes right bang in the middle. No one tracks his run. Just goes into the middle of the defence, and no one tracks him, and he's one-on-one with, Evans. And to be fair to Evans, he stands up really strong and makes himself big, but Cisse should be putting that away, and that could have been 1-1 earlier on in the game. So that was a warning sign for Barnet that, as long as it remains 1-0, like you said, we're still in the game. We saw what happened last year. It was 1-0 going late into the game, and they got the equaliser. And as we all know, 1-0 is a dangerous scoreline because, it just takes one chance, one mistake, one opportunity, one piece of quality for that to happen. And to be fair to Wealdstone, they showed that piece of quality in getting their eventual equaliser.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so Cisse obviously missed that one-on-one, and you were thinking, God, it's a brilliant save from Owen Evans in the end. It's just, I say brilliant save, it's brilliant positioning, it's good goalkeeping not to go down too early. He just made himself big and narrowed the angle. But obviously you can't pick when you score. But from a Barnet perspective, it would have been almost better if Cisse had scored that. Yeah, would it not have?
Yeah,
but the fact that they got the equalising goal in around the 80th minute meant there was so little time for the Bees to get back into the game that it actually worked out in Wealdstone's favour. Yeah,
like I said, if you're going to score, you'd rather score later in the game, to be fair. And given what Wealdstone were trying to get, which is a point, you'd rather score later than earlier, because had they scored, I think that was around, it was quite early, it was like 60th minute, I think they had that chance. So there would have been a lot of time left for Barnet to generate more chances, and it would have been long for Wealdstone to hold on to such a lead or a draw, to be fair to that sense. So they got the goal at the right time, and Wealdstone could argue if we'd scored them, we would have won the game. So I guess you can't look at football in that way. But had TC scored, then obviously they scored their equaliser. They could argue they would have had 2 goals rather than 1 goal. So it worked out in the end for Wealdstone. They had 10 minutes to hold on, and to be fair, Barnet didn't really generate many opportunities other than the Reece Brown chance which we'll talk about. But yeah, we're seeing the goal right now. It's Stanley Collins. She doesn't get a good clearance on it, and it's a good hit from Harrison Sona. Hits it hard and low, and I think when Owen Evans looks back on it, he'll be a bit disappointed because it doesn't really go in the corner. It kind of goes under his body, but there is so much pace on the ball, it's hard for him to get down quick enough to stop it.
Yeah, we're just looking back at the goal now. So the ball is played out wide. There's a good interchange between Boldewijn and Kretschmar, and Brunt dives in with the sliding challenge but completely misses it, and Boldewijn uses his pace and power to get over to the right hand side. He whips in a half decent cross towards the back post, and you would fancy Collins to win that header, but instead he makes a hash of the header, clears it poorly, straight out to Sona, who just slams it into the bottom corner.
Good hit.
And Evans, you can see Evans is furious with the goal, with conceding the goal and the manner that the goal is conceded. You just watch Owen Evans' reaction there. He's fuming with it.
Yeah, to be fair, Hartigan at the back post didn't hold himself in much glory too. I guess he didn't really react quick enough to the ball going out because no one closed down Sona, to be fair. As soon as it got to him, he had free rein to hit it, and it's a good hit. Got to give him credit. Hits it hard, hits it low. But I think Owen Evans, he's furious, obviously, that his defence for not clearing it. But I think he'll be a little bit angry at himself for not just getting down a bit quick enough. It's a good hit, but because it goes under his body, he's always that saying that if it goes under your body, you could have got there a bit quicker.
Well, anyway, right after that, though, Reece Brown had a massive opportunity to regain the lead for Barnet almost immediately as the ball was played through into the penalty area. The defender slips and Reece Brown has a huge opportunity, but he narrows the angle for himself too much. He doesn't take it early enough, or at least we were saying that he needs to do a PSG against Villa.
What Kvaratskhelia did, literally, because it's literally a similar kind of angle. I think Kvaratskhelia's angle is a bit better, but Reece Brown's angle is a bit more narrow, but we can see the technique he's trying to do, which is just to literally smash it as hard and high as you can at that near post, because when it's that close and at that power, the keeper isn't going to save it. It's just too hard. But unfortunately for Reece Brown, he just gets it wrong and it hits the side netting, and it's a massive opportunity. And looking back on the replay, there's 3 Barnet players in the box. You've got Shelton, you're there, you've got your Telford there, and I think Zach Brun was also there. They were all calling for it, and to be fair to Brun, it wasn't like they were wide open in space. There was a few defenders there, but given how long he took to get this shot away, the pass just wasn't on. And when you're that close, you've got to hit the target. I think De Bruyne was saying you've got to hit the target, at least make the keeper make a save, because if he makes a save, it could fall out to a Dom Telford, or it could just touch himself and it might go in, deflect off a defender and go in. But Reece Brown let them off hook there.
Yeah, it's obviously easier said than done in the moment. Of course, rush of blood to the head and all that. He just thought, smash the hell out of it, and unfortunately, he did hit the side netting. It was a poor quality finish, but he'll probably agree with you that he should have just smashed it at least on target, at least in front of the keeper, and see what happens, because there were a few players in there waiting to pounce. But alas, it didn't go in. Now, it'd be remiss of us not to touch upon the fact that Barnet succumbed to a few injuries today, which is quite concerning. We had Ben Coker go off late, we had Ryan Glover go off, and we had Miles Kenlock go off, and it meant that defensively Barnet had to kind of really improvise, and Dean Brennan had to really improvise. He had to bring on Tavares, who obviously isn't quite fit enough yet. He had to bring on Jerome Akimo, the veteran player coach. But there was enough attacking talent on that pitch, surely, with the likes of Chapman, Brunt, Telford, to get... And Reece Brown, of course, who was heavily influential in the game. You would fancy that there was enough quality on that pitch to get the decisive goal, but it just never happened. Yeah,
it just never happened. Did see like not everyone was on it, do you know what I mean? In the first, I thought Glover was on it in the first 25 to 30 minutes, but I think, like you said, the game just kind of petered out. I mean, the chances just weren't there. They weren't generating enough offense. They were attacking, they were pushing, but it just wasn't a bombardment. It wasn't like Wealdstone were hanging on for dear life. It was just that Barnet had possession. Wealdstone were like, we'll let you have it, but you're going to have to open us up properly to get any good chances. And touching on the injuries, I mean, it's really unfortunate. I mean, it's a shame that Grimberg got enough losses, because I'm for sure he definitely would have been someone to come on, a natural defender, someone that's played a few games. But like I said, it's sad that Kenlock's gone off injured, and Glover, and then Coker, and like I said, Tavares, who didn't come on when Glover or Kenlock came off injured. He had to come on the end because literally there was no one left to bring on from the bench, and he's just not fit. So hopefully those injuries aren't serious. They're just a bit of cramps over the amount of games they play this season, or just a bit of niggling injuries. But given that Barnet have got 2 massive games over the Easter weekend, you're going to need your squad, and having a fragile or makeshift backline isn't something you want to have.
No, it's not exactly ideal, and also we forget that Idris Kani was injured. He picked up a hamstring injury against Gateshead, I think it was, and he hasn't played since. He was sorely missed against Braintree as well. His creativity and power and pace down that right hand side, and you just wonder whether Idris Kani might have had another impact as well. He can play on the left, he can play on the right as well, and in the end it was Akimo down the left hand side. So these are big players who are missing out, and Leon Love as well came. He did manage to start today. Thankfully, he's getting back to full fitness, but even he was taken off, and you wonder if he was fully fit. There's no way he gets taken off.
Yeah, no way. No. To be fair, when I think it was still 1-0. To be fair, it was like it was 1-1 or anything. But yeah, even Callum said came off as well. I think Dean Brennan just thought, let me change it up, because it wasn't really working. To be fair, for in Dean Brennan's case, he saw it as 1-0 up. The second goal's not really coming in. Bring on a Dom Telford just to link up play. Harry Chapman, he's going to inject a bit of life, and he did when he first came on. Had a nice little dribble, didn't do much after it, to be fair. But Dean Brennan's talked about his bench. They're a good bench that he's got, and he's going to bring on those players. But unfortunately, he just weren't able to change the game today. And like I said, having Stead and Love go off isn't ideal. When you look at the score 1-1, you're thinking, how did he not finish the game? But just didn't happen in this sense.
Well, of course, the game petered out ultimately, and it ended Barnet 1, Wealdstone 1. Yet another failure to beat the bogey side that Wealdstone have really become, and should Barnet, in the very likely event that Barnet still do get promoted, we'll touch on the permutation shortly, they won't have to play Wealdstone for a while. But it's another important point for Wealdstone in their quest for survival. They're in brilliant form, and it's kind of a bad time to play Wealdstone, and a good time for Wealdstone to have played Barnet off the back of a disappointing result against Braintree.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, Wealdstone came into this game 2 wins on the spin. Barnet came into this game off a loss, and like I said, they've hit a good amount of form. What's that? Several wins in their last 13 games for Wealdstone, only 3 defeats. So they're building form at the right time, because when you're down at the bottom, every point counts. And we were saying before the game, this is a bit of a free hit for them, because they've got obviously Maidenhead and Boston over the Easter weekend, which are still humongous games in the grand scheme of things. But to get a point away to Barnet, which I think only 5 sides have ever done that this season, or 4 sides, it was really a really good result for them, and they'll take that all day. Before the game, you told Neil Gibson you get a point away from Barnet, you would have slapped your hand off and run away with it. You wouldn't have even brought it back. It's a good point for them. But for Barnet, again, they're just lagging towards that league title, which I still think they're going to win it, but it's the style. All that matters is winning it, but yeah, this is a bit nerve-wracking for the fans.
Yeah, the magic number is, of course, 99 points, which would totally mathematically secure it.
Obliterate it, yeah.
That's presuming York... I mean, there is a scenario in which York win every single one of their remaining games and reach 98 points. Barnet can still reach 104 points, which is not bad.
That's great.
But you don't want to be relying on other teams. You want it entirely in your hands, and it is. We shouldn't talk too negatively, because it is still absolutely in Barnet's hands, and 25 unbeaten, is hugely impressive. The only concern is, of course, how these injuries could affect the squad.
Yeah.
Your Glover, Kenlock, Coker. Coker more of a squad player, but
Carney,
certainly Glover and Kenlock. And Carney as well. These are starters.
Yeah.
These are starters, so he's going to have to use his squad.
Yeah, he's going to have to use his squad. And like you said, Easter weekend is so big, because you're going to have 2 games within, 3 days. And that's when you're going to have to use your squad. You're going to have to rotate, because you can't play the same 11 back-to-back games for 90 minutes. And it's a shame that people like Carney were injured, Kenlock and Coker. Obviously, Mark Shelton's just come back. Obviously, I'm assuming he's fully fit, but he might just be pushing himself an extra mile, because he knows that there's not really much on the bench for the Bees to have. But I do think, like I said, it's in Barnet's hands. They're still in a fantastic position to win this league. And like you said, all they've got to do, beat Eastleigh at home, you beat Sutton United away, and the title is more or less won because of the goal difference advantage. And then you can go into Aldershot game knowing that you need just a point to win the league. And that's exactly what Barnet got to see as game by game. Beat Eastleigh, forget what York are doing. You have to look at what you're doing. York are seen as, we just go win every game. Forget what Barnet do. Well, if they drop points, it's a bonus. But if we win our games, we're putting ourselves in the best possible opportunity. So Barnet just got to do that. Win your games, doesn't matter what York do.
Yeah, I mean, if you're of a York persuasion, you're probably thinking
nothing changed.
Well, I think I said on commentary that if I'm a York fan, I'm actually getting annoyed by this, because I'm thinking I'd mentally prepared myself for playoffs. You want to go into them with momentum. What you don't want to do almost is suddenly think we could actually win the title here, and kind of go all out and risk injuries and risk too much pressure, etc. But on the other hand, what have you got to lose? Yeah. Automatic promotion has got to be it's the holy grail. The playoffs are a complete lottery, and if you can avoid the playoffs, my God, you are going to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, it's in Barnet's hands, and I mean, like, you go into the Eastleigh game, Barnet will still be top of the league. Do you know what I mean? And that's a fantastic position to be in, with just 3 games left of the season. So they'll go into that game full of confidence, hopefully, with the players, but we cannot negate the fact of that someone just a little bit behind you, still chasing you down. It's like a race. You see someone chasing you down, it's going to cause you a little bit of concern. You're looking forward, but you're looking behind. Okay, how close is he to me? So Barnet just got to obviously win your games, but know that it's not over. You're not champions yet, and that's what Dean Brennan will be saying. We're not champions yet. It's not over yet. Until we're champions, we play every game as if we're not champions to win.
Exactly. Let's leave it there. Thanks very much for listening to the Hive Live post-match podcast here on the Barnet Football Club YouTube channel. Make sure you check out Hive Live Radio on X as well. I've been Rory Edwards alongside Brian Matovic.
Hope you've enjoyed the post-match podcast and the commentary, and we'll see you for Eastleigh.
Indeed we will. That game is of course on DAZN at 5:30 on Good Friday, and we should be back for Sutton as well, with an away special. We will let you know news of that as and when. But in the meantime, have a lovely rest of your weekend, and up the bees.
Up the bees.